Hey everybody, welcome to Born Country Radio, where we take a look back at the great country music of the 90s with the artists who were there and the artists in which it inspired. I am your host, Arthur Bourne. I am a blogger, photographer, now a podcaster, but most importantly, I am a country music fan just like you. For those who are finding me for the first time, I've been writing and photographing 90s country music stars for nearly 3 years at iwasborncountry.com. I'm so excited for you to hear this very first episode of Born Country Radio. I've created this podcast as a means to bring fans closer to their favorite country music artists. So much work has gone into getting this thing started, and I really hope that it shows. At this time, my goal is to deliver a weekly interview with country stars of the 90s, and on occasion, maybe a star of today, to discuss how our favorite era in country music inspired them. Please remember to subscribe at the end of the show so that you don't miss out on a single episode. Subscribing will allow the podcast to automatically download for free every week on your phone, tablet, or computer. You won't even have to think about it, it'll just be there for you to listen to when you're ready. While you're at it, feel free to leave a review after listening. Listener feedback will help, and it is very important to shape the future of this show. Before we get into our interview with John Berry, I want to tell you all about our very first official sponsor, Jean Blue Shirt Company. Jean Blue Shirt Company is based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and creates great t-shirts and tank tops inspired by some of your favorite 90s country artists and songs. Jean Blue Shirt Company is the home of the original Billy Bob Loves Charlene shirt, their latest design, Hockey Top Tennessee, and my personal favorite, Livin' That Honky Tonk Dream. Because Shelly Jean and Amanda Blue love Born Country and you, the country music fan, they are offering free shipping on all orders with an exclusive coupon code for our listeners. Just enter Born Country, BORNCOUNTRY, no spaces and all caps at checkout. Visit Jean Blue Shirt Company, jeanblueshirtco.com, and use coupon code BORNCOUNTRY, all caps, for free shipping at checkout. Our guest this week has been incredibly supportive of Born Country nearly from the very start, so it's only fitting that he be our very first guest on the show. Throughout the 90s, he charted 7 singles in the top 10, including She's Taken a Shine, Standing on the Edge of Goodbye, and his 1994 number 1 hit, Your Love Amazes Me. John Berry, welcome to Born Country Radio.
Good to be with you, my friend.
It's been a little over a month since you released a brand new song titled All Come Together, as a tribute of sorts to those who were devastated by Hurricane Harvey. The song materialized pretty quickly. What was the process like?
Oh, it was really quick. I went to write with my friend Chuck Jones. And Chuck is the writer of Your Love Amazes Me and You and Only You, and just so many great songs that I recorded on my early records and some of my latter records as well. And I went to write with him. We were kind of kicking around ideas for a record I'm going to cut this upcoming year. And but it happened to be the Monday after the hurricane hit the Texas coast. And, of course, you know, when events like that happen, you can't help but talk about it. And when writers talk about things, it usually turns into an idea for a song. So we got to it, and, you know, we wanted to write something that was really hopeful, that had a positive message about it, give people hope. And we got the first chorus, we got the chorus done, and then we wrote the first verse. And then I got a text from Robin, my wife Robin, and it said, I'm watching the news reports about the after effects of the hurricane in Houston. She said, OMG, we got to do something. What can we do to help? I text her back a sound bite of the first verse and chorus. And she just came unglued. And she's like, you stay there today until you're finished. We have to record this as soon as possible. By the time I got home that evening, she and my manager, Brian Smith, had a recording session set up for 2 days later.
Wow.
We wrote the song on Monday. We recorded it on Wednesday, which is unheard of. And then me and Chuck put down scratch vocals on Wednesday night. On Thursday, this great blues artist, Keb Mo.
Yes.
He's working on he's producing an album for somebody. And he said, yeah, if you can get me the tracks, I'll put some guitar and sing some on there. So he did that the next day.
Wow.
And over the next few days, we had people come and join us. And we had so many people sing and play on this record. Let's see if I can remember everybody we had. We had Brian White and Heidi Newfield from Trick Pony. We had the guys, two of the guys from Restless Heart.
Dave and Paul, right?
Yeah, Dave and Paul.
Okay.
And Colin Ray came and sang. Mike Ferris, who got Roots Gospel Grammy of the Year award. He sang it. He makes me want to go sell hamburgers. He's such a great singer. I don't ever want to sing again after hearing him. And oh gosh, who else? He was on American Idol.
James. Casey James.
Casey James. And Casey played guitar all over the record. He played. Matter of fact, he has more video time on this thing than I do. I mean, because he played all these cool guitar parts, and they got this great video clips of him playing. It's awesome. And and Chuck Jones, my co-writer, is on there with me. My wife Robin sang with us. She's in the video as well. And Brooke and Darren Aldridge, who are bluegrass killer new bluegrass artists, and they're on the record. John Callan sang. And the folks who don't know John Callan, he's a bluegrass legend, Newgrass Revival, and he also is now the lead singer for the Doobie Brothers. Lead singer and plays bass for the Doobies.
Very cool.
And but just a great. There's other artists too. I can't remember everybody right off the top of my head right now. John Oates from Hall & Oates. Oh my gosh, how could I forget him? That was the coolest moment ever. And but have him come and lend his voice, that was so cool. Well, my manager happens to know him, and he was out of town. And when we were getting everything done, he said, "Look, I'd love to do it if we could do it on whatever this particular day was." He said, "If we can do it on that day," he said, "I'm up for it." And actually, we cut it at a studio that's just across the interstate from where he lives. Oh, so that worked out great. I mean, he could have almost walked over there. And so it was real convenient for him, which was, always want to try to make it convenient for folks who are volunteering their time to come do something. And but they came in there, and it was great, just terrific. And Heidi Newfield also played harmonica. She's a great harmonica player. Funny, Chuck and I both we don't write for a publisher, so we own our own publishing as well as our writing. And so we decided that we would just take whatever royalties come in, and we'll just funnel that straight over to Samaritan's Purse.
Very cool.
And any of your folks that your followers are not familiar with Samaritan's Purse, wonderful organization of people that it was headed up by Franklin Graham, who is the son of the wonderful Billy Graham, evangelist. Great, from Billy Graham all the way down through the entire line of that organization. Some of the best people in the world. Straight up organization. Samaritan's Purse has a 100% transparency rating. 100% transparency, much like our federal government. Just kidding. And the amount of money, because a lot of times if you give $1, certain percentage of that goes to administration fees and that kind of stuff.
Right.
The amount per dollar that goes to the actual folks that are in need is extraordinarily high. It's unbelievable how little money they're able to run Samaritan's Purse on. And it's all done because of volunteers. They have, we went and we had 2 or 3 staff members, because my wife and Robin and I and our bass player Michael Steele, the 3 of us went to Houston. We got on my bus and went to Houston and volunteered with Samaritan's Purse just to be hands and feet for Christ, and just to go out there and just to help. We didn't know what we were doing. Folks at Samaritan's Purse are so good. They know exactly how to do it. They know how to put the teams together. And we would go in and do what's called a muck out. And we would go in and we would tear out everything in the house. The planner would go in ahead of time, and he would mark on the wall how high up, and everything below that line went to the curb. Everything. I mean, you can't imagine these huge neighborhoods. Huge. 400 or 500 houses with 6-foot-high walls of debris along the streets on both sides through the entire neighborhood.
Yeah,
it was crazy. I've never seen anything like it. And the smell. Oh my God! It smells like you're at a trash dump. It's that horrible smell. And but we would go in and muck out a house, and then they would follow us in, and they would make sure it's all cleaned and swept out, and they would start drying it all out. And then a team would come in, the spray team would come in and spray everything from that mark on the wall down that would kill algae, keep it from growing, bacteria from growing. And they'd kill everything and get ready for reconstruction.
Wow.
And it was quite remarkable. And one day, one of the most remarkable days we were there, our team leader came and he called everybody over, said, hey, listen, we got an emergency. We're going to go 3 blocks over. So we get over there. We didn't know what we were going over there for. We get over there, and the team leader over there came to us and said, listen, another organization came into this house, or some volunteers just came in, we don't know who they were, and helped this family clean the house out. Inadvertently, they cleaned out a bookshelf that had the homeowner's mother's urn with her ashes in it on that bookshelf. And they're somewhere in that 6-foot high by 8-foot wide by 45-foot long trash pile. And we're going to find it. So we got to it. I mean, we were on top of that pile, pulling and digging and yanking, and it was about an hour and a half, 2 hours later, one of the girls hollers out, I've got it.
That is incredible.
And the man, the homeowner, oh my gosh, the joy. He was an older gentleman too, and the joy. And his sister lives down the street, and we saw her walking down the street, and he held up this box, and he said, they found it, and she just about collapsed on the sidewalk. It was just a precious moment. It was worth driving to Houston to help those people do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. And the cool thing about Samaritan's Purse is they're still there. They're still in Houston. The news cycle has changed. Mm-hmm. You don't hear about Houston or that, not just Houston, the surrounding 100 miles, and but they're still out there helping. And it's pretty remarkable that their commitment to see it through.
That is really great. All come together. You can get it on iTunes and on Amazon, and all the proceeds will go to Samaritan's Purse, like John said. You can even head to johnberry.com and just straight up donate.
Yeah, there's 2 links there. There's one that they can click on to help people in Texas or help people in Florida.
Awesome. And
of course, it takes you straight to Samaritan's Purse, where you can find out more about what they do. We don't handle any money. John Berry LLC has nothing to do with handling of funds. Everything goes straight to them, and you can download the song. And you can also see the video that was made.
Oh, right.
And it's on. There's a link to the YouTube video as well.
Very cool. All right, I want to take a little step back. You had a huge 2016. You released a new album, What I Love the Most. Celebrated 20 years since your Grand Ole Opry debut. Released your 5th Christmas album, and also took your annual Christmas tour out for its 20th year. And
yeah, man.
I had to laugh because in January I saw one of your Facebook posts, and you stated that 2017 was going to be even bigger, and I couldn't even imagine what you were going to do to top the year. But then you announced that you had your own television show coming up. Have you slept in 2 years?
Not a lot. And yeah, the TV show was a blast. We shot Songs and Stories with John Berry in May, and it started airing in July, and it's been picked up in the UK on a network called Keep It Country. And so that's all over the UK, England, Ireland, Scotland, and I'm not sure what other areas, but all over the United Kingdom. And it just got picked up last week in New Zealand.
Wow!
And so it's starting to get a little momentum, and we are starting to talk about season 2.
Great.
Season 1 was shot at Douglas Corner, which is a place where my only showcase I did in Nashville, and out of that showcase I got a record deal with Capitol Records. And so it was cool to go back to that room. We're talking about shooting our next episode, our next season, in Gallatin, Tennessee. We're doing a Christmas show here at the Palace Theater. We got a little 200-seat theater,
okay, and
it's a real old-style movie theater that's been converted into a performing arts room. And we're going to do a Christmas show there this year, December 10th, if I'm not mistaken. And hopefully all that'll go well. And if it does, we're going to looks like we'll shoot our next season there in that little room, in that little theater, and see how that turns out. And so it'll be a lot of fun. We got some interest from some great guests that could not be on season 1, and that they'd like to be on this season. So hopefully that will happen. It could be really cool.
Do you have any artists that would be ideal for you?
I'm hoping I can get Vince to come do it. I've been such a huge fan of Vince Gill and his music, and he just seems like a real genuine guy, and everything I've heard about him. I've met him once or twice, and he just seems like just a real terrific guy. And I think he would, he's been doing this for so long, and I think he's probably got some great stories behind some of his songs that he's recorded.
Yeah, that might be.
I think folks would enjoy hearing.
That might be a few episodes you could do with Vince.
Yeah, there you go.
You had a lot of great guests this season. Billy Dean, Billy Ray Cyrus, Craig Morgan, Clay Walker, Mark Wills, Susie Bogus, and Neil McCoy. You've got to have a great Neil McCoy story.
Oh man, it was so much fun having Neil. And it was one of the things that was so great about Neil is, Neil, people always associate Neil with being a real fun artist, does real fun songs. But one of the things I really enjoyed about the show is they got a chance to hear the fact that the man can really sing. He's got a great voice. And he did an old school song that was just him and a piano player. And it was just awesome. And just to listen to him put it out there, man. He's got a great voice. And it was a lot of fun having him. He's just a real great guy. He's got a real energy about him.
Absolutely.
Folks, if they haven't seen that episode, they'll really enjoy it. Also, it looks like we're going to package the TV show into I think it's a 4 DVD set.
Oh, great!
Or 3 DVD set for folks that have not been able to find the series on TV, because cable, some cable systems carry it, some don't.
Sure.
So it's not always easy to find, but we thought that folks were getting a small order of those and have them, I think, on Christmas tour this year. So.
Oh, perfect! That'd be a great Christmas gift.
Yeah.
I was thumbing through some records at a local music shop here. I came across a copy of your 1982 album, Waiting for You.
Oh, come on.
I'm very curious.
Throw it away, please.
Oh, it's on my shelf. We listened to it a couple of times already.
No, don't. It'll ruin everything.
Well, I got to say, there was definitely more of a mix of rock and soul.
Bad rock and bad.
Was that kind
of... the records are so bad.
Was that the direction that you were hoping to go at the time? And, when did you decide that country was going to be your focus?
I decided that country was going to be my focus. I was playing clubs in Athens, Georgia, and in 1985, I think it was, a friend of mine who lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, and told me that there was a local radio station, WSOC, was having a contest, and that the first round was to send in a tape of preferable original music. And we just happened to we had recorded our first 2 or 3 songs for an album that we were going to do called Things Are Not the Same. And so I sent in, I think 2 songs, 1 or 2 songs, I can't remember. And I made it to the live performance part of the contest. And I think there were 16 bands that were selected, or 16 acts. And I ended up winning the thing. And the radio station invited me to come. I got to go up to Charlotte Motor Speedway, and our band played prior to start of the race. We played for about 30 minutes. Charlie Daniels was there to do something. I think he was playing Long-Haired Country Boy or something. And I got to meet him and while I was there. And oddly enough, I ended up being managed by his manager for 5 years after I got my record deal. And so when I won that contest, and I went up there and played that, and part of the prize also is to open for the Oak Ridge Boys and the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band at Carowinds Theme Park in Charlotte. And so I did that, and I just, the people that were sitting there listening to the Oak Ridge Boys and the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, they listened to me and they got me. It was like, oh gosh, this is my audience. So we went home and finished up the album. It sort of took a decidedly country turn. 2 years later, I won the Georgia division, the contest for the Marlboro Country Music Talent Roundup. That was a pretty country music oriented thing. I was playing some country clubs at that time, and then they had it again in '88, and they opened it up to past winners because they were going to have a national finals. So I got to enter it again, and I won it again the next year. And then I went to the national finals, and I came in third. And some guy named Ronnie Dunn won it.
Whoever heard of him?
Never heard of him. I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah.
Last I heard, he changed his first name to Brookson. His name's Brookson Dunn.
Brookson Dunn. Can you tell me a little bit about the night that you decided that you were moving to Nashville, and what song played a major role in convincing you?
I was playing clubs in Athens, Georgia, and I was actually quite successful at it. I ended up playing clubs there for 8 years before I left, and I mean, I had bought a piece of land. By the time we left there, we had 140 acres of land and had built a house and a big barn and, living the dream. But I was driving home late one night, February of '92, and a song came on the radio, and a song by Joe Diffie called Ships That Don't Come In. And when he sang that line, and those who stand on empty shores and spit against the wind, and those who wait forever for ships that don't come in, it hit me like a freight train. Because I had dreamed bigger than just playing clubs in Athens. I'd gotten really, really comfortable playing clubs in Athens, making a very comfortable living. And I hadn't dreamed much bigger than that for a while. And so I went home and I woke my wife up, and through tears I told her what I'd heard and what I was thinking and what I was feeling. So we sat up that night and came up with a plan. And our plan was to go to Nashville every 6 weeks and do an industry showcase. And we were going to do that for a year. And if nothing happened, we would come up with, sometime along that year, we'd come up with plan B. And we'd go with that. So we sent out 250 invitations to industry people. We had our showcase set up at Douglas Corner. We did our showcase that night, and out of those 250 people, one person showed up. And I got a deal with Capitol Records.
Wow.
It was cool to go back to Douglas Corner because I hadn't been there in 25 years. And it was 25 years to the month that we had been there last.
Wow.
Crazy.
Actually, I ran into Joe Diffie at CMA Fest this year in Nashville, and in our brief conversation, you came up and about his inspiration on you, and he's still, to this day, kind of tickled that he helped inspire somebody that would eventually become a friend and a contemporary. Yeah, he was very tickled by it still. So you moved to Nashville and recorded your first album. You released A Mind of Her Own and Kiss Me in the Car as your first two singles. Kiss Me in the Car is one of my favorite songs of yours. But the songs, they peaked, from what I could find, at 51 and 22 respectively on the U.S. country charts. Considering
I like the R&R charts because they go up higher.
Perfect.
Radio and record, I was 37 and 13.
Yeah, much better, much better. So,
Yeah.
considering the landscape of country today, it almost seems that if you're not hitting number one or close to that, you might not get a second chance. Back then, in '93, was there any kind of worry that maybe this wasn't going to work out?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if Your Love Amazes Me hadn't hit, I'd been gone.
That's what, So, yeah, Your Love Amazes Me came out right
No
before
doubt.
Valentine's Day in '94.
It actually came out. That's right. Right before Valentine's Day. That's right.
Okay.
Late January, 1st February, it came out, and it didn't really get legs until into March. It started really catching on, and then April it was catching on fire, and then I had brain surgery on May 10th,
Right.
and that's the day it was the number one record.
Wow.
Monday, May 10th, 1994.
That is incredible.
Nuts.
You mentioned earlier Chuck Jones wrote the song. When did you first hear it, and did you think it was a hit right away?
I heard that song in summer of '92, and I immediately said, "Yeah, I'll take that one." And I started working it up in my shows and playing the clubs in Athens, and everybody just loved it. Oh my gosh, they want to hear it 2-3 times a night. When I was getting ready to start working on the album, I told them I wanted to cut that song, and they said, "Well, Tanya Tucker has it on hold right now. She's thinking about putting on her album." And so I would check with my contact at Capitol every week and see if Tanya had turned her record in. And finally, she turned her record in completed, and Your Love Amazes Me was not on it. So I was the lucky guy who got it. The only thing is every time I see Tanya Tucker, she just won't let it go. She always says, "You owe me. Don't forget, you owe me." It's a great piece of music. I like I said, I'm just the lucky guy who got to sing it.
I just want to touch on a couple of your accomplishments over your career. I see you got to perform for George Bush Sr.'s birthday.
It was a birthday celebration. George Sr.'s birthday and Miss Barbara's birthday are very close together, and their anniversary is also around the same time. So they had this huge party in a huge conference room or a ballroom at the Astrodome in Houston. And I got to meet them, and I got to meet George W. and their family, and they were just very. And I've seen George W. at several events since then, and he always remembers me, and always makes a point to speak to me. It's very nice. It's very kind. Cool. I think the world of it.
You were also nominated for a Grammy?
Yeah, and I actually won a Grammy. I was a multiple artist, Grammy Award winning on the Country Salutes Gospel Amazing Grace 1. And there was a Grammy, that was a Grammy winning project, and I sang Blessed Assurance on that album.
There's one award here that I wanted to really ask you about. I found that, I think it was maybe 97 or so, you were inducted into the
Modeling Award.
Modeling! The Modeling Hall of Fame, the Modeling Association of America.
Yeah.
When you first found out about that.
It's not because I can walk a runway, dude. It's not because I know how to work a runway.
What did you think when you first found out?
Don't go there. Well, I was like, what are you talking about? And they finally sent this letter. It was very nice, and just said that we just appreciate who you are, and you're a great role model for young people, and we would like to give you this award and as a role model for young folks, and I was honored. So got to go up there and be a part of that event, and I think I got to sing for them while I was there, and so it was very nice.
Well, you've got your own clothing sponsor now, so it ends up you're kind of a fashioning model anyway. 20 years later.
Yeah, I'm a pretty fashion forward guy.
So you're about to head out on your 2017 Christmas tour. This is the 21st year. Anything special planned?
Well, at this point, just trying to get through it.
Sure.
No, I'm just kidding. No, we're gonna do the first part of the show is going to be a little bit different. Typically, we open the show with doing the radio hits and some new songs, and we're going to end it a little different this year. So we'll let that be a surprise. But we're kind of do a little different presentation on how we put it out, and then we're going to. Then the Christmas is going to be big and beautiful, and we got some production things we've changed for this year. We've got a lighting director. This will be his second Christmas tour with us, and he got one behind him, so now he really knows what we're after, and we kind of let him just run with it. So he's, I gave him a budget to do change out the lighting and change out some stage set things, and so he's going to do a few things different. So it's going to be kind of fun. And we did some audio changes. We bought some line array we'll be able to fly our speakers, line array speakers this year, and just audio wise, I think it's going to sound a little more pristine and nice and clean and beautiful.
Sounds great. You mentioned earlier that you're working on some new music. Next year marks 25 years since you first signed your record deal with Capitol. What any hints towards the new album?
Well, I don't know. We're just starting to write some things. It's not autobiographical, I wouldn't say, but it kind of leans that way. It's just sort of little points in my life where there's the idea that we just sort of take these times in my life and write about these things. And there's one that a time when I was growing up, I lived on Thomas Road in Decatur, Georgia, and I lived there from the time I was 8 and then moved away when I was 13. So I didn't live there long, but it was one of the most memorable times of my life. I lived on Thomas Road, and Brian, Sam, and Jeff, we all lived just houses apart. And Sam and I, our birthdays were the same day, same age. Brian and Jeff were a little younger, and we were just kids, neighborhood kids hanging out. But I got together with Bill Anderson to write, Whispering Bill, and we wrote a song together. It's called "Don't Think I Ain't Country," and but we got talking about where we're from, because he knows me from living around Athens, Georgia, but I had known that he'd lived in Athens and lived in Commerce, which Commerce was very close to where my farm used to be, where I had my farm. And we got talking about, he was asking me where I was from, and I told him originally Aiken, South Carolina, but I grew up in Decatur, Georgia. And he says, Decatur? Where in Decatur? I said, well, it's kind of between downtown Decatur and Avondale Estates. He said, where? And I said, well, if you're going down Columbia Drive that runs between the two, at the bottom of the hill and he goes, Columbia Drive Baptist Church? I said, yeah. I said, there's Thomas Road that goes up there. And he said, you lived on Thomas Road? I said, yeah. He said, I lived on Carter Road, which is the street behind mine. And we figured out that I lived in the house that backed up to the street he lived on, and he lived about 4 houses down.
That's crazy.
So we're gonna get together, and we're gonna write about growing up. We're gonna write a song about Thomas Road. I know that's going to be on the record. It's just a song we're going to write. We're going to write a song about growing up on Thomas Road and being kids, growing up in that era of time when, Vietnam War was going on and there were hippies. And there's going to be a line in there about after church on Sunday, going downtown Atlanta and looking at the hippies like they were daggone at the zoo. And because we used to do that when I was a kid, it was pretty funny. And but it's just going to be a song, and he's just the guy to write it with me, because we lived in the same area, different times, but it was years apart, but it was the same. We lived on 2 separate streets right next to each other, and it's kind of crazy, but we had a great time writing, and just really enjoyed the day I got to spend with Bill. So we'll write more songs like that, and I don't know what it'll lead to, but we'll come up with some kind of record that kind of talks about. We'll see what all comes with it. So
Can't wait to hear that. Thank you so much for all the support you've given Born Country over the last 3 years. I'm sure we'll catch up with you on the road over the next year. I'm sure we'll see you. Thanks a lot, John.
Thank you, my friend.
All right, take care.
Okay, see you soon, buddy. Bye-bye.
In case you missed anything in this week's show, head over to iwasborncountry.com/show1. That's SHOW1 for show notes featuring all of the songs and links mentioned throughout the interview. Next week's guest will be announced on Instagram and Twitter on Saturday, and then Sunday on Facebook. Make sure to follow Born Country on all social media formats to stay informed. If you enjoyed this week's edition of Born Country Radio, make sure to click that subscribe button and leave me a review. Keep in mind that I'm still learning this format, and I want to continue to make it better. Your feedback is incredibly important and will be greatly appreciated. Before we go, I'd like to give a special shout out to my pal Corey Saltz for composing the great theme music at the beginning of the show, and to thank our sponsor at Jean Blue Shirt Company, jeanblueshirtco.com. Use the code BORNCOUNTRY, all caps, no spaces, at checkout for free shipping. This has been great. I hope you all loved it as much as I did. I've had a blast. Until next week, this is Arthur Bourne, and I was Born Country.